Good morning po sa lahat. Ako po ay si KHRISTY SIA. Youngest po ako sa 5 siblings. Lumaki po ako sa isang Christian family. Both my parents, lalo na po yung nanay ko, ay active and involved sa church. Lumaki po ako sa Bible studies, prayer meetings, family devotions, and the likes. Nung bata po ako, I never liked church. At dahil ako po yung apple of the eye ng tatay ko, I get away with a lot of things. While ang aking mga kapatid ay required from Sunday schools or mag-Sunday school, mag-attend ng family devotions and all activities in church, ako naman ay naglalaro sa playground sa harap ng church, namamasyal sa mall malapit sa church, at o kaya ay natutulog tuwing Lord's Day or Bible studies prayer meeting. Lumaki po akong binigay ng tatay ko ang lahat ng luho ko at dahil dito, ako po ay naging selfish and entitled. At sa murang edad po, I find it easy to hurt others physically when things don't go my way. Isa po akong classic example of someone born in sin. Yung wala namang nagturo sa akin gumawa ng masama or manakit ng ibang tao, pero kusa ko po yun natutunan. Tama po ang sinasabi ni Pastor na hindi po natin namamana ang ating pananampalataya. And just because my parents were Christians doesn't mean I'm automatically one. Ako po ay naniniwala na without God's grace, mercy, and intervention sa buhay ko, I would definitely grow up worse. But napakabuti po ng Diyos. God knew that I needed saving at a young age. When I was 12, God took my mother away. Nagkasakit po siya ng cancer, and after years of battling the disease, she passed away. Ito po yung una kong karanasan with loss, and I became depressed and suicidal. Nawalan po ako ng rason mabuhay. Lahat po ng kapatid ko, pati yung tatay ko, nag-move on na. Ako na lang po ang naiwan na na-stop. One Sunday morning, God brought to my attention ang lahat ng mga reklamo ko sa buhay. Yung feeling ko na abandoned na ako or ignored by my family. And He made me realize that I am doing exactly the same thing sa Kanya. Para akong nasampal sa mukha. Dahil reklamo ako ng reklamo, ngunit lahat ng reklamo ko ay ginagawa ko rin sa Diyos at sobra-sobra pa. So I felt so guilty and ashamed. And it piqued my interest to know who God is. It led me to take the only Bible we had in the house and read it. I started reading from Genesis and I was hooked. First time kong binasa ang Bible that it made sense. I learned about God, the Creator who is powerful and strong and who rescued His people, a murmuring people. And nakarelate ako dahil ako yun. Ako yung murmur ng murmur at complain ng complain. Nakita ko ang sarili ko sa mga Israelites, entitled, proud, selfish, reklamador at rebelde. And I learned how God is merciful and compassionate to His people, and He sent them Moses to deliver them from Pharaoh and bring them to the promised land despite of their murmuring. And this connects to everything I heard na hindi ko pinapansin before during the family devotion, Sunday schools, and church about Jesus, the Son of God who came to the world as a sacrificial lamb to save those who believe in Him. The most famous verse that we all had to memorize as a kid by force. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whoever believes in Him shall not perish but have everlasting life. Jesus, God's Son, bumaba siya at iniwan ng langit to rescue His people. He became the final ultimate sacrifice to satisfy God's wrath on me. He suffered at namatay sa cross in my place na dapat para sa akin because I sinned against a holy God, and He rose on the third day so that I will be redeemed and that I may live for Him, and now He sits at the right hand of the Father. Grabe ang saya ko, but I cannot understand the mercy and grace of the Lord to save someone like me, someone who was ungrateful to Him, who disrespected Him, abandoned and ignored Him all my life. But His word brought so much joy, and I am and will be forever grateful. It was during this time in my room alone that I asked God for forgiveness and I surrendered my life to Him. I remembered Moses in Exodus 33:15-16 saying, And he said to him, "If your presence will not go with me, do not bring us up from here. For how shall it be known that I have found favor in your sight, I and your people? It is not in your going with us, so that we are distinct, I and your people, for every other people from every other people on the face of the earth." These words of Moses made an impact on me, and I told God the same, na ayaw kong mabuhay nang hindi ko siya kasama. At that point, God became my reason to live. And as I read how the Israelites were rebelling against God continually, I would pause and tell God that if ever na darating ang panahon na magre-rebelde ako ulit, I ask Him to do everything to bring me back to Him. If kailangan bugbugin niya ako or kalad ka rin pabalik, I ask Him to do it because ayaw kong mabuhay nang wala siya. I knew now that that prayer was not my own. Clearly, God knew the real me. And nakita ko how that prayer was necessary dahil sa mga nangyari sa buhay ko. Ang buhay Kristiyano ko po ay hindi madali. Wala pong nag-disciple or naggabay sa akin. Kaya para akong nag-wander through the years. Maliban sa desire to read God's word, binigyan din po ako ng Diyos ng desire na maging part ng church. Ang akala ko noon, basta yung church ay naniniwala kay Jesus at sa Bible, ay Christian church na ito. Kaya ako po ay na-expose sa iba't ibang churches growing up na nagkaroon ng mga maling focus at katuruan. Mas naging focus po ako sa paglilingkod sa simbahan, sa maling kaparaanan na di naman inuutos ng Diyos, instead sa pag-aaral ng salita niya. Wala din pong nagturo sa akin kung paano aralin ang salita ng Diyos. Kaya kahit sa pagbabasa at pag-aaral ng salita niya, ay nahaluan na rin ng maling interpretasyon at hindi yung tamang biblical interpretation na galing sa kanya. Pero napakabuti po ng Diyos dahil as I think through my journey bilang isang mananampalataya, nakita ko kung paano ako hinanap at pinursue ni Lord sa tuwing ako'y nawawala. At masasabi kong yung prayer ko ay naging totoo sa buhay ko. Fast forward po, 2019, when I decided to join a mega church here in Manila. I became a D group leader and was doing women's Bible studies. At dahil wala naman akong official training from the church, I went ahead and did my own study and research online. That's when I came across the Reformed teaching. Salamat sa YouTube and Facebook, I was able to find more teachings from known Reformed preachers and I was drawn to the truth they teach. And alam ko na ito yung kailangan ko. Napanood ko rin po yung American Gospel documentary and it opened my eyes to all the false teachings and practices I've been exposed to. And I realized that I have been listening to moralistic preaching or teachings, but very rare or close to none do I hear the gospel preached. Salamat din kay Mark at Joanne Abbott who became instrumental for me to listen to TNC Sunday's message online. I was drawn to TNC Sunday services online because of the expository preaching. Then Mark invited me sa midweek Bible study and Pastor Joel invited me to join the Reformation Bible class every Monday. At doon ko natutunan ang mga dapat kong matutunan bilang isang Kristiyano. At first, I became contented with doing everything online. At dahil na rin sa health condition ko at siguro sa katamaran na din, ay naging comfortable na ako doon. Pero sabi nga ni Pastor, walang Lone Ranger na Christian. And God was also convicting me through His word to be part of the local church as well. I read the story of the Ethiopian eunuch in Acts. And that was met by Philip in the desert place. At ang sabi po sa verse 27 ng chapter 8 ng Acts, and he rose and went, and there was a eunuch, a court official of Candace, queen of the Ethiopians, who was in charge of all the treasures. He had come to Jerusalem to worship. He had come to Jerusalem to worship. That last sentence rang loudly to my ears when I read it. And I found out na yung eunuch is an emasculated official in the royal courts, which means that eunuch is excluded from Israel's worshiping community as written in Deuteronomy 23. However, here we find him traveling the distance para mag-worship sa Jerusalem. Kung itong eunuch nga, nagawa pa niyang pumunta sa Jerusalem para mag-worship, kahit na bawal sa kanya at malayo siya, bakit hindi ako makapunta sa Caloocan para magsumamba? God also used one of John MacArthur's videos and he said that in the video, that for those who don't want to be part of the local church, more than anything else, it is really a heart issue for them. And I knew he was right. And the only response really is to obey God. That's why I'm here, sharing how Christ saved me multiple times in this life. After a long time, I know in my heart and my mind that TNC is the church, the assembly of believers who are faithful messengers preaching God's message faithfully. This is the church I need. And God willing, you too will have me. As for me, I know I am still a work in progress and I will probably fail myself or this church from time to time, but I held on to the promise in Philippians 1:6 that he who began a good work in me will bring it to completion in the day of Jesus Christ. To God be the glory.
O, tayo po ay manalangin. Panalangin natin si Sister Ana. Diyos na mabuti, makapangyarihan at patuloy pong nagmamahal sa amin sa umaga na ito sa narinig naming lahat na kanyang testimonya. Kami po ay patuloy nagpapasalamat sa iyo sa ginawa mo sa kanyang buhay. Salamat po Ama na binigyan mo po siya ng pagkakataon para makilala ka, lumalim sa iyo at paggamit sa TNC para sa kanyang buhay, Panginoon. Salamat po dahil hindi mo siya hinayaan na magpatuloy sa kanyang pagiging selfish, kanyang pagiging untitled, Panginoon, at sa kanyang ungratefulness po, Panginoon. Salamat po dahil pinili mo po siya, Panginoon. At salamat dahil ang iglesia ng aming TNC po, ang ginagawa mong instrumento po, Panginoon, para mas lalo siyang ilapit sa iyo, mas lalong kanyang kilalanin bilang Diyos po, Panginoon, at mas lalong kilalanin na ang nagpapahiwalay sa iyo sa amin ay aming kasalanan. Salamat po sa kanyang pagsisisi. Salamat po, Panginoon, sa kanyang mga taong nakapaligid sa kanya para makilala ka pa niya, mas lubusang lumalim sa iyo, Panginoon, sa pananampalataya sa iyo. Dalangin ko po, Panginoon, ang aming kapatid na si KHRISTY na patuloy mo pong gabayan, patuloy mo pong bigyan ng kasipagan, patuloy po, Panginoon, na bigyan ng desire na mas lalong lumalim ang pananampalataya sa iyo at sa lahat ng desire po, Panginoon, ng kanyang puso na magkaroon ng fellowship sa lahat ng kapatiran dito sa aming iglesia ay ipagkaloob mo po sa kanya. At dalangin ko, O Diyos, na hindi magiging hadlang ang distance po, Panginoon, para lumapit sa amin, mapalapit sa amin, at yung distance po, Panginoon, ng kanyang tahanan sa aming iglesia ay hindi mo gagawing hadlang para magkaroon po siya, Panginoon, ng dahilan para hindi makapanambahan. Dalangin ko, O Diyos, na patuloy mo po siyang pagpalain at palaguin po, Panginoon. At ang kanyang buong sambahayan ay bigyan mo din po, Panginoon, ng pagkakataon na mas lalo pa pong maging maglalapit po, Panginoon, bilang pamilya po, Panginoon, sa iyong iglesia. Kaya ang lahat po ng ito ay sa iyo namin itinitiwala na pagpapalain mo po ang aming sister na to, si KHRISTY po, Panginoon, sa tanging pangalan ni Kristo Jesus. Amen.